Hi everyone, welcome to the gender training course. This is the second class of the 3-session training. Today we focus on gender data gaps and data collection tools. I would like to share some feedback from participants on the previous session. Most important lesson learned is to stop, reflect, and be deliberate about gender aspects of my work. I have learned that in most cases, women are treated as a secondary group in plant health. I experienced it when we were selecting the lead farmers here in Malawi. The lead farmer woman had a child, and the extension officers asked us why we did select her. He said she will slow down our work, and we could have chosen someone else. To conclude, we need to see these things with the gender lens to succeed in incorporating women in agriculture. I put this comment because this is relevant to you all. In this context, rather than kicking out women with children, we need to create an enabling environment for women. Current system is not suitable for women with children, which is wrong. Women are not wrong. The last person's comment is this: access, perspectives, and needs can be quite variable within a community. It takes more effort to tease these out. This person refers to the diversity and difference among farmers what we talked last time. Thank you. So today, let's look at research result with a gender lens. You may be shocked. Data without a gender lens shows that on average, farmers work 8 to 9 hours in the field and do 4 hours of domestic work. Not very interesting. With a gender lens, we find that women sleep 2 hours less and work 4 hours more than men. The time spent on agriculture is more or less the same. This is result from Vietnam, but I have similar result from other countries. Men's sleeping time include oversleeping after the drinking at night. Implications for plant health innovations are that women need labor and time-saving innovations which are more likely to be adopted by women. Similarly, if you ask farmers what are major constraints on adopting new agriculture innovation, most frequent answers are lack of capital, lack of market, and lack of guarantee for selling prices. Those economic and market aspects are often prioritized in agriculture innovations. But if you ask the question to women and men separately, we find that those frequently mentioned answers come from men. Women's top 3 constraints were husband's disapproval, time and labor shortage, and fear of failure being criticized by husband or mother-in-law. This is a result from CGIAR global research conducted in 25 countries. Because household surveys often focus on the male head of the household, women's constraints are not recognized, and we don't address women's constraint in scaling strategies. Next, you ask farmers, did your household receive early warning messages about a pest outbreak? This is a result from Ethiopia saying that 65% of farmers received text messages and were able to prepare for a pest outbreak. That's great. This is fiction because we don't have the data with a gender lens. But if the result is like this, it means your intervention contributing to reinforcing gender gaps in terms of access to information. So it's not great at all. Even if women are not directly involved in pest prevention, they need to have access to information because women manage household food security, and if they have information, they can prepare for the worst harvest. So now let's look at information on gender, which is useful for plant health innovations. There are 4 aspects. First is gender roles. A key question is how do men and women's roles are related to pest and disease control. If it is women who do weeding, they may be the first person who identify pest or disease symptoms. Second is household decisions. A key question is who are influential in household decisions and how we use their decision-making power in adoption of technologies. Third is knowledge and perception. What are the level of knowledge, value, and belief of agriculture practice for women and men, and how these differences are related to their pest and disease control practice. The last one is what is reliable information sources for women and men. If you have those information, you can design intervention and scaling strategies much better. So I'm going through for these 4 aspects. First is the gender roles. This is an example from Vietnam sweet potato. You will realize that women are involved in all activities more than men in this context. We wanted to know who are involved in weeding and land preparation because they are important for sweet potato weevils control, pest control. From this, we know that it is important to train women as well as men for pest control. This is the data on control measures of maize lethal necrosis, MLN, by gender in Kenya. What we know from this data is that women use their own labor and time to control MLN, while men invest in pesticide and resistant variety. So in this case, financial support such as subsidies is required for women to adopt new technologies. Now I introduce some simple low-cost method to identify gender roles through focus group discussions. You can make this kind of table in A0 paper and ask farmers to put stickers like these photos. For example, please look at yellow stickers. They are talking about labor. We ask who purchased pesticide here. Is it person exclusively men or both men and women? But men do more or women do more. In this case, there are 6 participants here, and 2 of them said that in their household purchasing pesticide are exclusively women's role. In this case, women also need training. Green stickers are about decision making. It is interesting that although men measure and mix chemical pesticide here, it's men's role, if you see yellow. But then women are also involved in decision making, this green one. So in this case, also women don't do by themselves. They are the influential person, which means you need to talk with women as well. If you ask the same question to men's group, men tend to say that they do all by themselves like this. Their wives do nothing, except one case here, purchasing pesticide. This may be true for some households. They might under-recognize women's contribution, or they might hesitate to accept women's contribution as well. That is why we need to ask both men and women same questions. This is a result from a household survey 360, growing sweet potato. In province A and B, men are major decision makers, and in other provinces, women are main decision makers. But decisions on sweet potato production, which is the first bar about column A, decision on sweet potato production, is still a joint decision in all provinces. In this respect, women's knowledge and training is very important if you are introducing integrated pest management or crop rotation or intercropping. But how can we correct appropriately about complex decision-making between wife and husband? You can think about your household decision-making. It is not easy to say who in a single answer of yes or no. So I recommend using illustration. For example, the first question can be who in your household are involved in sweet potato production or pest management. If they say wife and husband like this, then we ask how important are they to make a decision in something, pest control, for example. Then husband respondent says that I play the most important role and my wife play important role. This is useful for evaluation of intervention to understand how women's power increased because before and after the training or interventions. So this is an example of gender difference between self-reported crop loss from MLN, maize lateral necrosis. Men tend to underestimate crop loss and women may be overestimating. It is important to ask the question to both men and women. Okay, perceptions are different. This is another example of gender difference in their perceptions about main constraint in maize production in Kenya. For women, drought and animals are more concerns. This may be because the farms, women's farms don't have irrigation and also don't have fence to protect animals. So you see the constraints are very different. This is the result of focus group discussion asking what information sources do you use, which is the most reliable. Also, we asked gender of information sources. Both men and women rely on their own experience, but men learn from peer male farmers. Women are more relying on individual information. Men tend to rely on peer men's information, while women access both men and women. This is also confirming that the traditional extension design is more male-favorable approach. What can we do to reach out to women more efficiently? So those data by women and men separately are very useful for us. However, a main challenge is achieving 50% women in sample. Even if I ask you, please select 50% women respondents, the survey team often refuse, saying that Nozomi, women cannot answer technical questions, or women are just staying at home, not farmers. I recommend you to read this excellent paper by Jennifer Twyman about how researchers perceive farmers as men and how this bias affects research data. This is happening all over the world. Also, in key informant interviews, we often ask questions to district agriculture officer, village leader, and male association, farmer association leader, and they are often all men. So I would recommend to interview women group leader, female school teacher, and female health officer to incorporate women's aspect of the community, what community look like. That is very important. Focus group discussions, we could consider other typologies to identify differences among men and among women. For men, low income and better off groups can be a suggestion. For women, you could separate women whose husbands are also farmers and women who don't have husband or whose husbands are not farmers because their roles and those two groups have very different and decision-making power also different. We need innovation, design, and scaling strategy according to those different types of groups. In household survey, we often focus on the typical farming communities. Some minority communities characterized by indigenous community, remoteness, or climate impact are often marginalized in the survey selection. Similarly, minority households without husband are treated as minority, but those minority groups often have more problems of pest and disease control. Therefore, we want to know more about those minority groups. In normal random sampling like this method, we will only very little sample from the minority group, so we cannot analyze properly. So my recommendation is oversampling the minority groups by stratified methods to ensure that their voices are heard and analyzed. This is the end of presentation. Thank you. For the next session on 19th, we will have discussion and sharing work plan per center for achieving equitable impact by 2024. We talk about gender and plant health regional working group and plant health event on gender in later this year. Thank you.